everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Dear Daydreamer podcast with me, Stephanie Mautone. Why am I nervous right now? Obviously, we're doing something a little fresh and new here today. This is my first time trying out the video podcast, so yeah, I'm just gonna go for it. I honestly don't know how it's gonna go, how it's gonna come out, but it's just fun, so yeah, we're gonna go for it. And real quick, I just want to say, if the video version of this podcast isn't available on the platform that you're listening on, I'm going to upload this episode on my YouTube channel as well if you want to check it out. We're going to start off with the affirmation card of the week because I already forgot to do that last week, but it's fine. We're doing it now. So I guess I can physically show you the card as well since it's a video podcast. The affirmation card of the week: I'm always in the right place at the right time. Period. This week we're chatting all about showing up as your highest self. Yes, this is something I've talked about quite a bit before in my previous episodes, but today I really just wanted to do a full-on deep dive into showing up as your highest self, becoming your highest self. This episode is really just inspired by my life and thoughts lately, and also inspired by the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. I seem to be reading this book in perfect timing, and although I'm not done reading it yet, I highly recommend it. I feel like I have a lot of thoughts that are similar to the book's thoughts, but the book and the author are just really helping me to kind of understand my thoughts more clearly and give solid definitions and explanations to the thoughts that I have. So I may be giving a few shout outs here and there this episode to the book, but that's really just because all of the book's ideas are really just helping to clarify my own ideas. I feel like the first step when it comes to showing up as your highest self is figuring out who you want to be, focusing on your identity, focusing on who you want to be rather than what you want to have or the goals you want to accomplish, because by focusing on who you want to be, you become more focused on the process and the journey rather than the certain goals you're trying to achieve or the certain outcome that you have in your mind. And then by focusing on who you want to be anyways, I feel like then you're just going to be aligning with the goals you want to achieve anyways. So basically what I'm trying to say is I feel like you're likely to still reach the outcome you want, but by just taking a different approach. So I'll just use my acting career as an example. And also, side note too, in Atomic Habits, James Clear really does go into this in a chapter where he talks about identity and focusing first on your identity rather than focusing on the outcome first. So for example, when I first started acting, my first thought is, I really want to be a series regular on a TV show, which is me thinking in terms of the goal I want to achieve. Rather than focusing on the series regular job, I started to obviously shift that into focusing on things that will give me more longevity. And that's with anything, right? No matter what career we have, no matter what career we're working towards, we want longevity. We don't want anything to be short term. And of course it's okay to want a series regular job on a television show, but I quickly realized that okay, that's just part of having an acting career. My real goal is to build a career in acting, to build a career as an artist, which then in result, by focusing on the identity that I want to have, which is becoming an artist, becoming an actor, and doing that for the rest of my life, that can potentially and will potentially lead me to having that series regular job. But I have to focus on the journey and the process to actually potentially get to that point. Again, I feel like it's okay to want to achieve certain goals, to want to accomplish certain things, but it's really all based around the person that you want to be and become. And quickly going back to the thought of longevity, if we're focusing on identity and who we want to become and kind of making it all a daily practice, whatever that means for us, practicing daily the things that are going to help us build up to the person that we want to be, then that's going to give us longevity. That's going to bring us to our highest self. Like when I think about diet, and I don't love bringing this up because I feel like I've had a kind of unhealthy relationship with food and losing weight and body image, and I'm still working through that, and that's totally okay. But I'll just use this as an example for what I'm talking about when it comes to longevity. A few years back, I was struggling to lose weight, and I would do like short-term diets and then go right back to the way I was eating and gain the weight back. And then instead of being like, I want to lose 10 pounds and I want to be this size, instead of having those like certain goals and just focusing on the goal, I started to kind of focus on my health and food as more of a lifestyle change, where I slowly started to become more happier with my body and my diet because it was an everyday practice, and it was more of a focus on identity. It was more of a focus on, I want to be healthier and I want to feel good in my skin. And slowly it just became part of my identity and who I am. And then I found that I slowly reached the goals that I may have wanted to in the past, starting with the focus and shifting your focus over to the person you want to be rather than the certain goals that you want to achieve. And also too, I just want to bring up this point real quick. Nothing that comes short term is going to give you that longevity if you're not keeping up with the daily practice. Basically, I'm trying to say there are no shortcuts, you know? I'm part of this acting membership called the New Triple Threat, which if you're an actor, definitely check it out because it's all based online, so it's really great and run by other talented, intelligent actors. And something they bring up a lot is that your acting career is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And I feel like that applies to anything. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. There are no shortcuts. Focus a little bit every day on the person you want to become, and you're slowly going to get there. Slow and steady wins the race. What's that story about, like, the turtle and the fast animal and the rabbit, maybe? I don't know, but that applies, you know? Is it the turtle and the hare, the tortoise and the hare? I don't know, but hopefully you get the point. So after we really get down to it and figure out who we want to be, then we can start to align with that higher self, with that higher version of ourselves. And as you get clear about your identity and the person you want to become, and you're slowly working towards that and becoming that version, we will start to align with the things we want, and it all starts to become more of a reality. Becoming your highest self. When I start to try to do this, some of the things I'll ask myself is, okay, what can I start doing now? What can I add to my routine? How can I align with the vision I have? How can I do that all where I'll then slowly start to become that version of myself as I continue to show up as that version of myself and put the action in? I made a short little TikTok recently about this, and again, it just kind of sparked the idea of, I should do a podcast episode on this because I just feel so passionately for this whole idea of your higher self. And it's honestly so fun to tap into. And you can ask yourself all of these questions that I just brought up, but something I really like to do to really like tap into that version of you and feel it in your heart and in your soul is meditating and journaling. I really love doing higher self meditations. I feel like it always brings me a lot of peace, and it really helps you to connect with that level of yourself. And I always feel like the meditations are a good reminder that your highest self is already inside of you. Your highest self has the answers for you. So whenever you need that, whenever you need to ask yourself a question, your highest self is always there, and deep down it's always there, and you know the answers. Your highest self is always going to be there for you. And that's so comforting for me. I also love journaling as my higher self. And I've mentioned that before, how sometimes I'll journal as if I'm already at the point I want to be at. Sometimes I'll even be journaling and writing to my past self or maybe my current self as if I am my higher self and I've achieved all these things, and I'm writing back to my past self, reassuring myself to just keep going, knowing that it's all going to work out. That's something that really is fun for me and helps me a lot. My vision board really helps me too, because I'll go glance at it and just take everything in. And so all these things, meditating, journaling, my vision board, they all really just help to bring me to that feeling of knowing, and all really help me to feel like my higher self, because we can show up as our highest self.
This might not taste good.
Wait, come here. Do you want to just pop your head in? Oh my god. Dane just made me a matcha, I believe. How cute. I'll swap it out for my water. Here you go. How good. So refreshing. After that quick matcha break, sorry about that. Where was I? So I can talk about showing up as your highest self, but you really want to feel it. You really want to feel it and know it in your heart, you know? So I feel like those tools really help me to feel and believe. So again, I feel like ask yourself, what can you start doing now to align with your higher self? What are changes you can make or add to your routine? Recently for me, aside from career, I've really been wanting to focus on my health more, kind of going through this phase where I've been struggling a bit. And then I slowly started going to the gym with my friend Courtney little by little, realizing that working out helped with not only my physical health, obviously, but my mental health, and made me feel so good. So I'm like, okay, if I picture my higher self to be getting to the gym at 6 a.m. every morning before going off to her acting job, then recording her podcast episode, coming home and cooking dinner, okay, I can start to align with that version of myself by simply working out. Because how can I just picture that, oh yeah, I'll always be working out, or going to a Pilates class and then grabbing a green juice if I'm not even working out now? I'm like, okay, that's something that I can add into my routine. That's something I can add to my routine where I'll slowly start aligning with that version of me. I feel like just always asking yourself, how can I align with that version of me? To be honest, even when I'm out shopping at the mall, and you know, for the most part, I feel good about money. I try to never let myself stress about money. You know, the artist grind and server life balance can be hard sometimes, but I never let myself stress about money, because once I start saying, I can't afford this, I can't afford that, to me, I feel like that's not aligning with the higher version of myself that I have in mind. My higher self is never stressed about money, knows that there's always enough money to go around. So I always try to have that mindset to, again, have the most alignment that I can have. Whatever you want to do, whatever person you picture becoming, whatever person you picture as your highest version of yourself, it's all about taking small steps forward. I always am saying it's all about the baby steps. The baby steps are going to add up to something bigger. It's so funny because I feel like I'm reading Atomic Habits at the perfect time, because literally the book is all about basically the baby steps, how the small things, the small habits that you make will add up to something bigger. So if I want to be a full-time artist, how can I align with that? How can I think, act, do that, and believe in it? I feel like those are my key things I try to incorporate to really show up as her, to really show up as your highest self, thinking, acting, doing, and believing. I want to tell you about my day yesterday because I really was like, okay, I knew I was going to record this today. So I'm like, I just want to full on, not really play pretend because I'm still I'm still me, but I'm like, I just want to like fully tap into my higher self today. And it's such a fun little exercise to do because, okay, I literally got up early, went to the gym earlier than I've ever gone in my entire life, felt so pumped and motivated afterwards, got my nails done, was sitting in the nail salon, honestly, like daydreaming as if I was like having some time off from shooting my film or whatever the case may be, really just tapping into that higher version of me. It was so much fun and again really just helped to align with that mindset and feel all the good feelings. Focus on who you want to be and it will come. Let go of the outcome and it will come. If you know who you want to become, if you're focused on your identity, if you're aligning with that, then let go of the outcome because it's gonna come. It's on its way. Don't focus on the results. Let's try to focus more on the journey and the process because, again, I feel like that's a trap that I easily fall into all the time, but I feel like by focusing on the journey day by day, you're constantly growing into the highest version of you. You're constantly aligning more and more every day with that version of yourself by choosing to show up as that version of yourself every day. Show up as your highest self, period. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and I am excited to chat with you again next week.